From Roy Moore to Harvey Weinstein, every day we're finding a new public figure at the center of a sex scandal. Now, Democratic lawmaker Jackie Speier says there are two serving congressmen who have engaged in sexual harassment. Speier didn't name names, but specified that one was a Democrat, the other a Republican. And to make matters worse, it turns out the government is spending your money defending these idiots. And we still don't know who they are. Speier told NBC News that the House has paid out more than $15 million in settlements over the last decade. And that number includes complaints not just on sexual harassment, but also racial and religious discrimination. But don't worry. Paul Ryan announced yesterday he's going to require all members of Congress to undergo mandatory harassment training. That'll fix everything, right? It always does. Here with me now, Washington Examiner political columnist Kristen Soltis Anderson. Welcome back, Kristen.
Thanks for having me.
So we don't know who these lawmakers are yet, but we do know that the government has paid out $15 million. Do you find it odd that there's this sort of sexual harassment détente between parties where normally if one finds out about the other, they would make it public as soon as possible?
That's right. Normally, the bad thing about politics is that people love to dig up dirt on one another and sling mud and all that. But sometimes digging up dirt is a good thing because it's bad for people to have dirt. And I mean that about things like mistreating women. I don't mean this about, you paid your property tax bill a week late and suddenly that's the ad. Yeah. This is something pretty serious. And normally in politics, the incentives are to go after the people on the other side who are doing bad things. And yet this is something that is so pervasive, and the norms about it have just sort of led to this kind of mutually assured destruction, right? Yeah. If anybody rocks the boat too much on this issue, well, you never know what kind of ugly stuff might be under, if rocks start getting overturned on your side, who the bad guys are on your team.
Yeah, what kind of spiders are going to crawl out from betwixt the moss and dirt.
But I think the culture is changing. I think this Harvey Weinstein story has kicked off a whole raft of new thinking on this. You are seeing all sorts of liberals coming out saying they regret their behavior during the Bill Clinton scandals. So these norms are changing really fast. The other thing that I think is just sad about this whole story is this was $15 million of taxpayer money.
Yeah.
That $15 million is so small, you don't even notice it in the federal budget. If this was a private company and you had $15 million being spent on this stuff, it would get noticed. It would be in financial statements. But the financial statement for the United States government is so enormous that $15 million is nothing. So I think that number sounds astonishing.
But you also have predators who are supposedly constrained by ethics and who are supposed to be censured if they do things like this, and their errors made public. Why isn't that happening?
Well, I think that is a really big question here, and I'm unfamiliar with the nature of these particular settlements. But what I'm hoping will happen now is that in many cases in the past when women have been harassed, they felt uncomfortable coming out and naming names, because if you do that, then there's this whole world of bad things awaiting you. People judging you, people not believing you, your career could get hurt. My hope is that norms are changing so that when men do bad things to women, women feel more comfortable naming those names, calling them out publicly, so that this behavior can get stopped and voters can know exactly the type of people they're voting into office.
All right, Kristen Soltis Anderson, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Kennedy.
Crazy story.